Are we getting dumber? Or is modern life training our brains the wrong way? It sounds like an uncomfortable question, maybe even an insulting one. But the strange thing is, this question did not begin with opinions. It began with numbers. For much of the 20th century, something remarkable was happening. Across many developed countries, intelligence test scores were rising. Not once, not randomly, not in one isolated place. Generation after generation, people appeared to be scoring higher than the generation before them. Children often scored better than their parents. Their parents had scored better than their grandparents. And for decades, this pattern looked so consistent that researchers gave it a name: the Flynn effect. At first, it sounded like proof that humanity was simply becoming smarter. But that was not exactly what the data meant. Human brains had not suddenly evolved in a few decades. Evolution does not move that fast. What changed was the world around the brain. More children went to school. More families had access to better nutrition. Medicine improved. Childhood became safer. People spent more time reading, calculating, comparing, planning, and solving abstract problems. In other words, the modern world was exercising the brain in ways the old world often did not. So the scores climbed, year after year, generation after generation. For a while, it looked like the line could only move upward. Then, something strange happened. In some countries, the rise began to slow. Then, it stopped. And in certain places, it started moving in the opposite direction. The numbers were no longer climbing, they were falling. And that changed the entire question. Because if the environment helped intelligence rise, could the environment also make it fall? That is the uncomfortable part. This does not look like a simple genetic story. If it were only about genes, the pattern would be slow. It would unfold across many generations. But some research found changes appearing inside the same families. Younger siblings sometimes scored lower than older siblings. Same parents, similar genes, same household, but not the same world. That detail matters because it suggests that something outside the skull had changed. Not who people were, but what their brains were being trained to do every day. So what changed? Start with attention. Your brain was never designed to jump between dozens of signals every few seconds. It can switch tasks. It can react quickly. It can scan the environment for danger. But deep thinking is different. Deep thinking requires staying with one thing long enough for the mind to build a structure around it. A hard book, a difficult problem, a long argument, a question that does not give you an answer immediately. But modern life keeps breaking that process apart. A message arrives, a notification flashes, a short video begins, a new tab opens, another screen calls for attention. Each interruption feels small, almost harmless, but together they train the brain to stop staying still. And a brain that never stays still has trouble going deep. It becomes better at reacting, but worse at remaining, better at scanning, but worse at holding, better at moving quickly from one thing to the next, but worse at wrestling with one difficult idea until it becomes clear. And that matters because intelligence is not just knowing facts. It is the ability to hold information in your mind, compare it, test it, rearrange it, and use it under pressure. That kind of thinking needs attention. And attention is becoming one of the rarest mental resources in modern life. Then there is sleep. Sleep is not just the time when the brain shuts off. It is when the brain does some of its most important work. It organizes memory. It cleans away waste. It strengthens what matters. It weakens what does not. It repairs the system that has to make decisions again tomorrow. Without enough sleep, memory becomes weaker, focus becomes shorter, emotions become harder to regulate, and choices become worse. A tired brain can still function. It can still answer messages. It can still go to work. It can still look normal from the outside. But it is not operating at full power. And modern life is extremely good at stealing sleep. Bright screens at night, stress that follows you into bed, noise, late caffeine, endless scrolling. One more video. One more post. One more reason not to stop. The problem is not that people do not know sleep matters. Most people know. The problem is that modern life is built to make rest feel optional, even when the brain depends on it. Now think about learning. For a long time, school forced the brain to practice uncomfortable skills, reading long passages, remembering facts, solving problems without instant help, doing math by holding steps in the mind, writing ideas in order, waiting for answers, struggling before understanding. That struggle was not a mistake. It was part of the training. The brain grows stronger when it has to work through difficulty. But today, answers arrive almost instantly. That can be useful. It can save time. It can make life easier. But convenience has a hidden cost. When every answer appears immediately, the brain may lose the habit of searching for it. When every question is solved before it becomes uncomfortable, the mind gets less practice staying with uncertainty. And uncertainty is where a lot of real thinking begins. This does not mean technology is bad. Technology can expand the mind. It can give access to knowledge that previous generations could not imagine. But if technology replaces effort instead of supporting it, the brain adapts to that too. It learns to reach outward before it works inward. It learns to search before it remembers. It learns to react before it reasons. Then come the pressures people rarely connect to intelligence. Pollution, poor diet, chronic stress, chemical exposure, sedentary routines. The brain is not floating above the body. It is part of the body. And the body is shaped by the world it lives in. What you breathe, what you eat, how much you sleep, how often you move, how safe you feel, and how constantly you are stressed all influence how the brain performs. So intelligence is not just something locked inside your skull. It is also something your environment either protects or slowly wears down. But here is the twist. Maybe humans are not simply getting dumber. Maybe we are being reshaped. Modern life may be making us worse at long focus, but faster at scanning information. Worse at memorizing facts, but better at finding them instantly. Worse at patience, but faster at reacting. Worse at sitting with silence, but more comfortable inside constant stimulation. And this is where the danger becomes easy to miss. Because fast thinking can feel like smart thinking. A quick reaction feels powerful. An instant answer feels intelligent. A constant stream of information feels like knowledge. But speed and depth are not the same thing. A brain that reacts quickly is useful. But a brain that thinks deeply is powerful. One helps you survive the next notification. The other helps you understand the world behind it. And modern life may be training one while quietly weakening the other. So the question is not just whether people are getting dumber. The question is what kind of mind the modern world is building inside you. A mind that can respond instantly, or a mind that can stay with something long enough to truly understand it. Because every day, your brain is being trained by what you read, by what interrupts you, by how you sleep, by what you avoid, by what you practice, and by what you let become normal. So, What are you training your brain to become?